Well, this is the favorite thing of all my radio shows. I love to talk to people who are involved in show business. And today we have Michael Ursua, who is the resident musical director for something that's going to be so exciting. It's coming up at the Wick. It's Man of La Mancha. And of course, everybody, I think everyone has seen it. If not, well, even if you've seen it, you want to see it again, especially when the Wick does it, because, I've been going to their shows, Michael, and with the kinds of costumes that they have there, it just makes everything so much more special.
Well, it does, and all of the actors. I've been with the Wick since its inception, and directed and staged Sound of Music. So the actors, I never get over their faces when they actually try on the wardrobe for each show. And I'm not in every show, so I get to see that happen, and they're just amazed. I mean, I tried on my costume for Man of La Mancha. I'll be the Padre, and I've done the show 4 other times. And these costumes, even the prison outfits, the prisoner outfits, the rags that we wear, are 3 or 4 layers on top of each other. They're just amazing fabric. It's just incredible.
Yeah, I really feel that the shows are great, of course, and the acting is superb and music, but the costuming, just puts that icing on the cake. So let's just talk about this. Why don't you tell people about Man of La Mancha and maybe a little of the history, because it's so beautiful.
Well, it's funny you should ask this. So Man of La Mancha, the original production in New York, had no intermission. It was straight through, and there wasn't much of a set. It was very, it's all the prison and done by lighting in different areas and different props, different costumes. Well, now as time has gone on, theaters have really embellished the set, huge sets and huge this and huge that. So we're going to go back. Dominic Ruggiero, who's the director, is going to go back to the simplicity version. The set is amazing. I'm not going to lie; it's huge, and the costumes we just said are fabulous. But it's back to the simple part of the show where it's dreaming the impossible dream. And yes, it's set in the prison, the Inquisition. There's a lot of strong tones with all of that, but there's that underlying anything's possible, just dream the impossible dream, and that's what really pulls out of this production. And as I teach the music to the cast, I'm also teaching the music as a musical director, and I'll be the Padre as well, but trying to help them understand that we all get to sing the last song, Dream the Impossible Dream, at the very end, and it brings everybody together and sends you out with this huge message. And it's just uplifting. That's what made the show so great. I think back then it's so down, but it's so up at the same time. It's just a great, great message.
And just thinking about what's happening in the world today, and
exactly.
here we have a world of madness, and I mean, it's history just
true.
Keeps repeating itself, doesn't it?
Yeah, and the score, the music, the score alone, the songs are from back then, but they still are so wonderful now. The score never ends, and from start to finish, they're awesome, perfect in the story songs.
One of my favorites, Dulcinea.
Yeah.
And we just love her. And so who is playing that great part?
Dulcinea, Aldonza / Dulcinea is Alex Page, and Alex and I did swing together at the beginning of the season. She started in swing as the female vocalist.
Oh, I loved her.
Yeah, so it's a little welcome back. So she's done several things around the area, and she also did this role at Palm Beach Drama Works when they did a concert version of Man of La Mancha. She was also Dulcinea and Aldonza. So she's coming back to this production, a full-blown production. So this is quite an adventure for her too, and I know she's thrilled to take it on.
You may not know this, but I was really the chairman of the board of the Florida Repertory Theater for about 7 years, and Keith, who was the I don't know, were you around when we were doing things like that up there?
No.
Okay.
No.
Anyway, it's where the Palm Beach Drama Works is now. That was the theater, and of course, it was very hard to pay for theater. I mean, and I always watched the pennies. And I used to say to Keith, you got to do two person plays. This is too expensive for us. And then he comes up with Man of La Mancha. And I said, you must be kidding. And when I retired from being on, as the board, they gave me a picture with all the cast. In fact, Missy McCardle was right in it because she was part of it. Missy and all in the front. And it was the whole cast, for me. And it was absolutely, it just my favorite show. Although I just saw, of course, the show we just, La Cage aux Folles, and I've been going crazy with that, raving about it. In fact, you talked to Duff, and I told him, you have to see this stuff. You cannot miss it. It's like that with every show you're doing there.
Well, thank goodness.
Thank goodness.
I mean, you have, but I have to say, Marilyn Wicks is my boss, of course, but she took this theater and brought me down here, and no matter what you need, she'll get it or find it or yes, let's do that. That's what the amazing thing is. She's got her heart and soul in this whole thing.
Yeah.
And costume world, all those beautiful costumes. It's a great, great recipe. So, you're just hoping for more.
Yeah, it's really great. Well, let's tell people a little bit about Man of La Mancha. If they haven't seen it, well, let me just tell people how you can do this. I'd like you need to see it, and you want to go on their website, which is the Wick, WICK, thewick.org. It's located, it's on Federal Highway, almost on the Delray line. It's in Boca, but it's just almost there. And beautiful theater. Every seat you sit in, you can see the stage. The acoustics are magnificent. And, of course, Michael Ursua is the resident musical director, and he's certainly doing things. He's going to be on the stage. He's going to be behind the scenes. And so let's talk about, for people who have never seen Man of La Mancha, and what the whole theme of this show is.
Well, it's Don Miguel Cervantes. It comes into the prison, and several prisoners are waiting in this huge cell, and so we're all awaiting trial. We don't know who's going to be picked next to face the Inquisition, and so he and Sancho end up in the prison, and we put him to trial. We threaten to take his belongings and burn the very story that he tells. So to win back that story, he decides to enact the story and brings all of the prisoners into the story with him. So we become all of the characters in his story. And at the end, he ends up, well, I'm not going to tell you what happens.
No,
You
don't.
probably already know, but I'm not going to.
Yeah,
Why not?
don't.
Let's make it a movie cliffhanger. Yeah. but it comes to an end, and we end up being one with him and having hope as prisoners. And it's just an amazing show. If you haven't seen it, I can't believe you haven't seen it, but if you haven't, you gotta come see it and say you saw it, because it's just one of those shows that you need to see and know. It's a great, great show.
And do you have a windmill in there?
We have a projection type windmill that, of course, is part of his imagination. So we're in the prison, so you get to see what he might be seeing in his mind as far as the windmill is concerned. Yeah, but he does fight that windmill.
And of course, there are so many sayings that come in our daily life that comes from that play. You're always fighting windmills, or what? No, there's something else. What do they say to someone? You're always doing something at windmills. If you. I
don't know. He said something about charging windmills, and he thinks the windmill is an ogre. So
of course,
it's also fighting the badness off. So.
Right. But there are people who are always going at things that they have the wrong idea about things, but they think they're doing the right thing, and that's really same thing.
Yeah, just as you said, it's so relevant today because God, it's a mad thing going on right now. So it's the same story, the same hope, the same ideas.
Now, when he first came in there, he was he a royal? Was he a general? What was he? I forget. See, I read the book in my English class many years ago, and what was he? He was something special, wasn't he?
What the title of his
a knight. He was a knight, wasn't he, or something?
I think he becomes a knight, and in his story, he does think he's a knight.
Yeah, but he's. But I thought that he was a very wealthy nobleman or something.
I'm not sure. You've got me on that.
Well,
but, they're thrown in here because they put a notice on the church door.
Right.
So a tax notice on the church door. Yeah.
No, but I read the original story, not in Spanish, but I did read it. It was a huge book, and I'm trying to remember what he was and why he, even had a manservant riding with him, and I don't remember that, but I really liked him. And of course, then he was always defending people, always doing things for the good, but that's then the Inquisition was pretty bad too. And the Inquisition, you're right. It's like, history repeating itself.
Yes. Yeah, it's very strange.
How many people do you
So,
have in the cast?
over 20.
I knew that.
It's a huge cast, and I have to tell you, the gentleman playing Cervantes and Don Quixote is George Dvorsky, and George comes to us from New York, and recently was El Gallo in The Fantastics, which is still the new version of The Fantastics is still playing on Broadway, and he came from there. He's done Scarlet Pimpernel on Broadway, Passion. And at the end of the day, he's the nicest guy. And that's the same thing I experienced with Leslie Uggams and Leroy Reams and Walter. The nicest people come here, and it's such a privilege to work with them because they tell you all these stories. And I wish I could talk to you forever on this radio program. The stories I have, it's just amazing that they share their experience and their talents with us down here. So,
Well, you can try me. Give me a story.
I've got all of Lord Leroy's stories. I couldn't tell you on the air. So. But,
That's great.
And then Sancho, I got to give a shout out for Robert Anthony Jones as Sancho Panza, and I've known him since 1999. I hate to say that, but that's when we met, and he's done a million things too. And it's just I have to tell you, I'm not lying. It's a big family of happy people because we know we're doing this fantastic, well-written, great score show.
Yep. Oh, yeah. I'll tell you about the Fantastics. I have a lot of little goodies to tell you. So when we were trying to raise money at the Florida Repertory Theater, the artistic director, or no, I guess it was the executive director, had a husband who knew Governor, let's see, in the White House, it was, he's senator and a governor, and it went out of my brain right now. Okay. Anyway, I'll tell you in a minute. So we asked him to come to do one of his work days because that's what he was famous for. He would take one day of the month and he would make believe that he was that person, whether it was in a restaurant or something else. And so he always wanted to be an actor. We didn't know that. And his favorite show was The Fantastics. So we brought him down here, and of course he had his protection and all that. But we had a huge fundraiser, and he absolutely was the very, very best actor, and he played in The Fantastics, and so it was The Fantastics. It's hard to believe that it's still going all these years.
Isn't
Graham,
it?
I'm sorry, Senator Graham, Governor Graham. That's who it was. Bob Graham.
Yeah.
You've lived here long enough to remember him, I guess.
Yeah.
Right. And so that's really what happened. And he played, and it was, we had a major fundraiser, which was very successful. And it was The Fantastics.
That's great. Yeah, it's still going.
So, well,
It's moved from its original, the downtown Sullivan Street Playhouse, I think it was called. Now it's closer to Times Square, but it's still going.
Well, I know. How much longer is La Cage aux Folles going to be there?
La Cage closed this past
It
Sunday.
did close.
Yeah, sadly, yeah.
Oh,
we
sorry.
had the time of our lives. That was a
great show. Because I was just convincing Duff to go see it, but he asked me.
Yeah.
I said, "That's another week," but it isn't. Okay, too bad.
Yeah.
That was. Some
Sorry,
people
Duff.
had seen it, said it was the very best they'd ever seen.
Yeah, and it's those Leroy and Walter Charles, the
That's right.
great guys, and really drove it home. So.
Yep. That's what I said. That those two made it just
Yep.
absolutely the best. And of course, I always see you there. Aren't you the one playing the piano?
Yeah.
When you come out?
Yeah. Yep. That's me.
Yeah. That's another thing about the Wick that's so lovely. When people leave theaters, and even though I love the Palm Beach Drama Works and I go there, when you leave a theater, after the show, you leave the theater. It's over. But that's not true at the Wick. It just begins a lot. You sit there, you have fun, you have something to drink, you talk to the people about it. That's very special at the Wick.
Oh yeah, the minute you come in, there's something happening. So we out in the lobby, we have Chris Barrett is out there playing the piano, pre-show, intermission, and as you leave the theater, that's Chris Barrett out there. when you come into the theater, I'm up there with the band and conducting them, and in Lacage, if you saw Lacage, you actually saw as the whole band platform came rolling forward, and that was a fun little ride we got to do every night. And but yeah, it's we have the monitors so the cast can see me
Yeah.
in the monitors, and they can follow the band when we're not seen, and it's a good setup. It's all working out. So yeah.
Right. When I'm sitting close enough, I can see the monitor too.
Yeah, it's funny because a lot of people stop me, and they know me just from the
Right.
from the monitors. I'm like a little TV monitor star. So, but yeah, I'm like, did you watch the show? Don't watch me. And they're like, oh no, we find it very interesting. So, yeah, it's funny. So
Right. And it's the songs just like I'm only thinking of him, and what does he want of me? I mean, the Dulcinea part. I really love the fact that she represents, now in this world with women, that's what I loved about him. He sees her as something so wonderful. He doesn't see her as that little slave or that mistreated woman. That really makes it special.
it does, and that particular character. Well, and even in rehearsal, no matter how many times you've done the show, you still can find something that's awesome about the show itself. But even to the muleteers and Pedro, who's the worst muleteer of all, he still gives him a chance. Also, it's such a gift. I don't know if any of us can do it like that. It's just so hard nowadays to try to see the good right off the bat or forgive somebody. But I was just singing a song out of West Side Story. I sometimes sing in the tavern room at the end of the museum tours, and so I put Somewhere from West Side Story into my set. And I sang that line, we'll find a new way of living and a way of forgiving. And I thought about Man of La Mancha because now I'm in rehearsal, but there's so many things about that. So
Right.
still trying. And all these shows that were written way back then are the same message, and we can still try to fit it in now. So,
How long have you been doing work like this?
oh my goodness. My first show actually that I played, I was piano 2, was Man of La Mancha. And I was 15 years old.
No.
And no, that's right. And the music director and the musical director, I saw a show there with my family, and I told them I was taking piano lessons, and they gave me a shot. I mean, that's how it started. And I just played piano too, because it was just rhythm. I didn't have much of a pressure point, but and it just went from there. And so I perform, I musically direct, I direct, and Marilyn. I can't tell you how great I have it here. She gives me opportunities. She lets me direct. She lets me musically direct. It's a very nice thing that she's let me do here. So,
Well, she's
thank you,
letting you
Marilyn.
do it. But she's letting you do it because you're good at it. You don't think for 1 minute Marilyn Wick is going to let anybody do anything just because she likes you.
No, I know that. Yeah, and this has nothing to do with Man of La Mancha. It's the Wick Theatre. When we opened the theater, and she asked me, "Would you like to direct Sound of Music?" I said, "Well, of course. I mean, it's a brand new theater, and what an adventure that will be, because we'll all have to hold hands and see how this is going to work." And of course, we have Sound of Music. You can't. That's another great product. And so we did it, and we opened. We got a Carbonell nomination, and the beautiful costumes, this magnificent set, beautiful people, and it all worked out. But I'm telling you, we were all holding hands, and everybody was watching to see what was going to happen with that. And here we are. We're still here, and we just closed a hugely successful show of Lacage. So
I
think
know.
things are working out.
Yeah. Well, and we just need to
Dreaming
get
the impossible dream.
that's true. We need to get you some major sponsors. That's what I've said to her. That
Yes.
it's very important. But let's at least go to the theater, everyone. So if you're listening to this, and you're listening to Michael Ursua, who is the resident musical director, we're now at the Wick. That's thewick.org. Go on, buy your tickets. You can buy it now for that show. You missed the Cause, too bad, but they have wonderful shows coming up. But you can. This Man of La Mancha, you will walk out of there on air. I just know that I haven't seen the show yet, but I just know, of course, I know the show, and I know whatever they do is great. As a matter of fact, it debuted in 1965. It won 5 Tony Awards, and it's still going strong. And it was very brave of Marilyn to bring that, because it does have a huge cast. But the music is beautiful, and if I just hear Little Bird, Dulcinea, I'm only thinking of him. What does he want of me? And The Impossible Dream. You can hear the music. Those songs are so in my brain.
Yeah, great, great songs. I mean, and I get to sing some of them, so I'm in heaven.
I'm sure you are. Well, you're so talented. It's lovely that she even
Oh
found
no,
you. She
I'm just
found
fortunate.
you.
I mean, I'm so thankful for all the opportunities. So we
Well,
also have that summer season too that has come. That's a new thing for the Wick as well this summer. If there are
yes.
people around,
So tell
Peter
people.
Pan's coming.
Go ahead. Who?
Peter Pan will be our first
Oh, that's right.
show of the
Peter
summer. Yeah,
Pan.
it's not a kid's show. It's a full-blown Peter Pan that, Mary Martin has been in and things like that. So Peter Pan,
You have someone flying it. She's going to be
there's
flying the.
flying with the darling children right across the stage. So yeah,
Whoa.
yeah, we've already been approved by the company that does the flying rigging and things like that. So it's June 11th. It flies into the theater.
It flies into the theater. That's great. Well, I want everyone to know the Man of La Mancha opens February the 25th. There'll be a grand gala opening on February 28th. The performances are Wednesday through Sunday. They have matinees and evening performances. And the reservations, as I told you, you can go on the Wick. But go on the web. But take this phone number down. Remember, this is Pencil Talk Radio. It means you take a pencil, you write down what you hear, and it's 561-995-2333. That's 995-2333. And then you can always go to see so much thewick.org. Now, one thing we haven't talked about is there are ways that you can go to the Wick, and even if you're not going to see the show, you can have lunch there. You can have a costume tour. Do you want to share that a little bit with everyone?
Sure. Every day at 11 a.m. You can reserve. It is a reserved tour through the Costume Museum, which is now right behind the theater. It's part of the building. It's behind the stage. And you get taken through at least 13, 14 wardrobes right from Broadway, and these beautiful vignette type sets that it looks just like the Broadway show, and with the costumes. And you're informed about the costumes and the show itself and the music. And then you're taken into the tavern room, which is basically Tavern on the Green. And Marilyn bought the chandeliers from the old Tavern on the Green room and a lot of the china. So it's quite an experience. And someone might sing some show tunes for you. And then you can saunter right in to see a matinee or end your day. It's quite an adventure. People always do the tour, lunch, and matinee. Especially if you're a theater geek like I am, you couldn't ask for anything more. Start your morning and end with the show.
Of course, but there's nothing on now, so they'd have to wait until Man of La Mancha comes, right?
Yeah, you can still do the tour between now and our opening, but and the show starts up again on the 26th. So, yeah.
But even the lunch is just quite elegant. I saw the little lunchroom and the tour, so that's worth it, isn't it?
And Marilyn just hired an executive chef. He is fantastic. He's funny too. He sings to me. So I might steal him, put him in a show. But if you could just spend a day at the Wick.
Right, a day at the Wick.
Amazing stuff happening that you don't even realize. So, yeah.
Well, and so we're really happy to talk to you because now I also I did a question about something. So the costumes that are used, how that the people have all different sizes. How are those costumes able to be fitted to those people? I mean, someone has to sew them or take out the seams, or how is that done?
They do, yeah. Well, I'll give you an example for my Padre robe, which is from I don't know if it's the original production or one of the Broadway productions, was huge on me. So I don't know, the fellow that did it in that production was a bigger guy. So they come right with their safety pins and their notes, and they take it in. The next time I'll see it, it'll fit me like a glove. So it's all manipulating. And if a particular wardrobe piece that they liked so much from the original is exactly what the director wants, or Marilyn, or they will recreate it. She has quite a staff at Costume World, so they can find the materials and build another one that looks almost just like it. So
I see. Yeah, that was curious. Oh, so they either will have to do another one, or they can take what they have and then re-sew it, or that, of course, they're not going to cut it, but they're going to.
take it in, yeah, and fold it in and clip it up for you, yeah.
So her costume world is over there in Pompano Beach, and it's someone told me. Of course, she has some others now around the country, but someone told me it's the largest costume, I guess, company in the country.
It is, especially for rentals. I mean, schools. I spent the summer at Costume World with her in her office when the theater was down. Of course, this summer we're not going to be closed, but so I was over there assisting with various things while the theater was not producing shows, so to speak. And I learned so much watching them with the high schools, local theaters, regional theaters, tours. They all come to Costume World because she has all of these wardrobes. So if the high school is doing Beauty and the Beast, she's got all of that. She's got the teapots, the closets, the candles, all that stuff you would want to make your high school production look like the Broadway show. So it's day in and day out with just clothes going out, clothes coming in. It's an amazing factory, is what I call it.
I hate to think of the inventory.
Oh yeah, I and the poor shipping companies. I mean, here comes another teapot your way. So,
Does she actually give you tours of the costume shop?
no, but I mean, if you ask, she might, but no.
But it's not typical.
It's
But it must be a very, very, very large facility.
it's huge, and if you're a theater geek like I am, you walk down the hall and you see there's Patti LuPone's The Dress from Evita, or there's the whole wardrobe from the original production of Into the Woods. It's all up on these racks and detailed and cataloged correctly, but you can find these costumes and just stand there and go, oh my God, that's the actual costume. So at least it's somewhere safe. That's why I always say, even I used to give the tours of the museum too, at least everything's safe and cataloged and protected, and that's the best part of it all, is she's keeping it, keeping it safe to be enjoyed and looked at,
Well, a lot of
and sometimes worn.
sometimes worn. A lot of the shows that we've seen, even though the music and the acting is superb, when they come out with their costumes on, it is to die for. And I know that, and everyone says that their mouths are open, and it makes it such a difference. And I've been just given a little twist that says that we're out of time, but I look forward to meeting you in person, Michael, and I thank you so much for doing this with us.
No, you know what? Thank you for letting everybody hear all this information about theater to keep the arts going and what we're up to, and it's fun to share all this stuff with everybody that they might not know all this stuff. So thank you so much.
I'll keep doing it. I want to help Marilyn as much as I can.
Oh, thanks, Anita.
All right. Thank you so much, Michael. See you soon.
Thanks everybody. Thank you.
Bye.